Hey sketchy friends, so today I wanted to share with you some of my favourite urban sketching supplies that do not cost the earth. So if you are on a budget but you want to try a few different things out, then this video is for you. Please stick around. Urban sketching is fantastic because you really don't need a lot of things to get started, and those things do not need to cost a lot of money. I mean, you can just get started with either a pencil or a pen and just a normal sketchbook, or not even a sketchbook, just some paper. But obviously, as you get more involved and get more enthusiastic, obviously we like to buy more things and try more things. So I do have a few friends who say that buying art supplies is a whole different hobby to actually using those art supplies, which I do think I agree with. And over the years, I have certainly collected many things. These days I am quite strict with myself. I do try to not buy too much stuff, and that's why, you know, on this YouTube channel I don't have many reviews of different materials and that kind of thing, because I just don't really want to get into that kind of game. And you know, it might not look it right now, but I actually do have illusions to one day be a minimalist. But you know, it's inevitable that we're going to buy different materials and try new things. So this video, I just wanted to share with you a few of the budget supplies that I have. And by that, I mean just more affordable things. They're not very expensive things, but I use them all the time, and it might help you decide whether you want to get something or not for your own urban sketching practice. So let's get into it. So one of the very first things I actually bought when I started urban sketching was this water brush. Not this particular one, I've only just bought this one, but the one I bought 10 years or more ago is here, and it's only just about starting to give up the ghost. But I just bought the exact same one again, which is a Pentel Aqua brush, and it's the broad size one. And, you know, when I first bought it, I was like, oh, I don't really know what the fuss is about, I don't really like it, and I put it away for a long time. But now I carry this with me all the time. I absolutely love it. It's great for just adding water to sketches very quickly, quick watercolor sketches if you're in a confined space like a plane or a train or something like that. Also great for activating like watercolor pencils and stuff. So I do just find it really useful. For those of you who don't know, it's got water in the handle here. It's, you know, it's got like nylon bristles, not the best. You know, don't get me wrong, it's not gonna ever replace my Escoda brush or anything like that, but it is brilliant for quick little sketches on the go. You just squeeze the handle a little bit, you don't even need to squeeze it that much, and it releases some water into the bristles, and there you go. So I think that's a really great thing. You know, I want to say you can get this for maybe like $5 or $7, something like that. You can buy them in packs of 3. You can buy different shaped, you can buy like flat ones and that kind of thing. I've only ever had this one. I would just say stay away from the craft ones, the really cheap like ones marketed at children, that kind of thing. They are cheap, but they will break. So just buy one from a reputable brands like Pentel, Koi, Derwent, Faber-Castell, the list goes on, you know, the people you've heard of. I do have these Caran d'Ache ones, which I did buy when I first moved to South Africa, and I didn't have this with me because I kind of got a bit caught out. I didn't officially move here properly, let's just say that. It was during COVID, so I got caught out a little bit. I'm not a big fan of these. I like the brushes and I like how they work, but I don't like that you have to suck up the water. Let me see if I can not make a mess with this. I don't like that you have to, I did just spurt water everywhere, never mind. That you have to suck up the water with and bring this plunger out. And then if you're carrying it around, it makes the brush like twice the length that it needs to be, you know? I don't know, I just find that annoying. Anyway, so I don't like the Caran d'Ache ones for that purpose. The other cool thing with these is that you can fill them up with watercolor. I've got an Ecoline liquid watercolor in here in this brush. I've got the grey one, so I can just add a bit of grey shading, and I've been finding that really nice with doing some people sketching lately. So I just take a pen and I take this water brush that's filled with grey watercolor, and I just use it to do some shading. So that's quite nice. As I said, the only thing I don't really like about these is the length, but the actual brush and how it works is really, really nice. So if you've got a pencil case that long, or if you don't mind carrying around something this long, then that's fine. And I did most of the sketches in this accordion book with that water brush, just for ease and for time and for speed. So, just doing quick food sketches, that kind of thing, just sketches on the move. It's just really, really useful when you're on the plane and you just don't really have time or space to get out a pot of water. Really, really useful. And if you want to see a sketchbook tour video of this sketchbook, then you can do. I'll link it in the corner and in the description below. This video is very kindly sponsored by Skillshare, where there are thousands of courses in all kinds of different categories taught by creatives for creatives. So animation, creative writing, film and video, even photography, music, and some business stuff as well. So being a freelancer, marketing stuff, and some lifestyle stuff as well. So I'm taking this course here by Ira Marks about drawing comics, which is really fun. And there are also things called learning paths, which is where multiple classes are curated and put together so that you can watch them one by one, and you can start right at the beginning, and by the end you'll be an expert. So things like becoming a freelance illustrator, that sounds quite interesting. I like the sound of that. So I can check it out. And I can see that there's 3 classes. It's 3.5 hours at the moment. Putting a portfolio together and finding your clients. The 6 stages of illustration. I've actually taken a few classes by Tom Fruis. He's really, really good. Really like his classes. And this final one, how to sell art commissions online. So there's a whole bunch of different learning paths, different classes that you can take. And it is for some of us, not me, some of us, it's coming up to summertime. So there's no better time to kind of kick back and learn a new creative hobby, really. So for the first 500 people that use my special link below, you'll get 1 month free of Skillshare. So do check out that link below and go and check out what you can learn today. Watercolor sketchbooks and paper can be a tricky subject matter, but if you are in the UK, possibly even Europe, but the UK, then C. White of Brighton is a fantastic brand and really not too expensive. I bought this one in Hobbycraft actually when I was visiting in October because I thought I was going to run out of space in my sketchbook, and I didn't actually, but it was a really good price, maybe like £5 or something, which I think is crazy good. But I do have one of their travel sketchbooks here, which I initially didn't like very much. This is when I very first got my first set of White Nights watercolors, which is interesting. Didn't initially like it very much, but then I got to grips with it, and then it became one of my favorite sketchbooks, and I've done some of my favorite sketches ever in this sketchbook. So yeah, and again, I think it's about, let me just look here, $12.99 for this A5 travel sketchbook. It's 200 GSM, I think. If you're in the USA though, it's about $25, and therefore I don't think it's a bargain, but in the UK it's a good price. But you've got other books in the US. You've got Stillman and Byrne, which is much more expensive over our side, I believe. And Hahnemuller as well do really good watercolor sketchbooks for a good price in the States. And my current favorite brand of just watercolor paper, they do sketchbooks as well, but only sort of smaller square ones, I think, at the moment, is this brand Potentate, who by the looks of things is a Chinese brand. But these are 100% cotton paper sheets, hot press and cold press, and they do rough as well. And these are about £5 for 10 sheets. But I think that's a really good price. And I've only done a couple of sketches. I've got a YouTube video on this sketch, but really good if you want to try out 100% cotton paper at a good price. I can really recommend these. I couldn't find it on Amazon UK or USA. Not to say that that's the only place to shop, but I don't have time to look at every single place. So yeah, but they seem to be very popular in South Africa right now, so I'm quite enjoying that. If you are in the market for a fountain pen, but you just want to try out a relatively cheap one, I can really recommend the Platinum Preppy. I absolutely love this fountain pen. It cost me about £5, I think. I did buy it here in South Africa, but they're readily available all over the place, Amazon, art stores, everywhere. And I just think it's like the perfect line quality for me. Don't get me wrong, it's very plastic and very light, but what do you expect for £5? The line quality is wonderful. The only thing you do need to consider is that you actually do need to buy the converter separately, which may also cost you another £5 depending on where you live. But it's just the kind of standard platinum one that fits in all of their pens, and it's the kind of screw mechanism. So I don't think this one has got any ink in it right now. So the other thing you need to consider when you are looking at sketching with a fountain pen is that you will need some ink. This is platinum carbon ink, so platinum, same brand as the fountain pen. This is kind of the only one I've ever used, to be honest. I've got a couple of bottles of it. I've never run out so far, and I've had them for years, and I've got loads of fountain pens. So this will, cost you £12–15, but I've had it for years. I haven't run out yet. And I do a reasonable amount of sketching with a fountain pen. So I just put the nib in, screw the converter. Be very careful when you take it out, because this is where I get ink everywhere. Put the body of the pen back on. Just give it a little wipe. Okay, just make sure there's none on the handle. I always make a terrible mess when I fill up fountain pens. I feel like I'm just a messy person. I'm not very good at doing things neatly. Let's get some paper. Sometimes you just need to wait for the ink to come through a bit. There we go, now it's coming through. So I just think this is like such a nice line. It's nice and fine. I like sketching with fine lines. There's something just very loose about sketching with fountain pens. You can hold it quite far back. I just think for the price, this is a really great fountain pen to get started with. You can put a converter in it. You can use permanent waterproof ink in it. And and it just works really nicely, and it's a very nice light pen to carry around. If you're in the market for a cheap fountain pen to try out, then this is the Platinum Preppy. Okay, another pen that I want to mention, which is one of my faves, is the Pentel Pocket Brush. This is a brush pen, and it is favoured by many urban sketchers, many comic book artists, graphic novelists. It's got a beautiful brush nib, which is very soft and actually feels like a brush. It releases lots of nice juicy black ink. And the best thing about it is that it is refillable as well. So I've just put a new cartridge in this, but they last a really long time. But you can buy the cartridges separately as well. But usually when you buy this pen, it comes with two cartridges with it. I think you can buy it in bright orange as well. But yeah, it is a great pen. I love using black in my urban sketches. And this is the only brush pen I ever need, because I can just keep refilling it, which is also good for the environment. So this pen is about $8, I think, on the US Amazon, and about £11 in the UK. So a little bit more expensive in the UK, but well worth it. And those two cartridges will last you a really, really, really long time. Mine did. And there's just some other things that I want to share with you. They might not seem like the most exciting things, but they are very useful to my urban sketching. I use them every single time I sketch, and that is clips to keep your sketchbook clipped open, so bulldog clips. I also carry around this kind of this flannel with me, which perhaps I need to put through the wash. I prefer to carry this around with me so that I don't have to use, kitchen towel and throw that away all the time, or napkins or paper or whatever. Also by Faber-Castell is this collapsible pot. It has actually got water in it right now, so I won't collapse it, but it's like telescopic, so it does collapse in on itself. I also find that extremely useful to carry around with me. And none of these things are expensive at all, but they're just so useful in terms of urban sketching. And another thing, this was free. I had some form of makeup or spray in it at one stage. It's got a Clinique written on it that my mum used to use. So I've had this for years and years and years. So this was free. And I just carry water around in it just to spritz my watercolour paints with, just to activate them. You will notice I have not mentioned watercolour paints in this video. That's because I'm afraid they are just expensive. There are some cheaper options that you can do. For example, getting a little tin and then just selecting just a handful of colours to go in there. You can spray the lid with a matte white kind of spray to use as your mixing area. And then you can just put a few pans of colour in there. So there are ways and means to make watercolour painting as cheap as possible, but I do feel like you almost need to know a lot about watercolour painting before you can get to this point. That's just my interpretation, I suppose. Another thing that I like to carry with me that doesn't break the bank is this white gel pen. I have love-hate relationships with different brands of gel pens. For the moment, this one seems to be working quite nicely for me. It's a Uniball Signo. I have tried other brands like Jelly Roll and that kind of thing. I just don't really work very well for me. But this one is working quite nicely at the moment, so for the time being this is my favourite one, but it's nice just to be able to add little bits of white to your urban sketches if that's something that you're into. I do also carry around this Unipin Posca white marker, which is the fine one. It's not one of the thick ones. It works intermittently. You do have to shake it and cajole it a little bit sometimes. So yeah, this is the PC1MR. So sometimes you can use it and it just works. But then sometimes you have to like pump it and shake it with the cap on, preferably, to get it to work. But as you can see, once it does work, it does make quite a nice opaque white. We're all on the quest for a good white pen, and you find one and then it stops working and then you have to find a new one. So for the moment, these are the two that I'm carrying around with me, the fine Posca, which is the PC1MR, and then this Uniball Signo, which I feel like I've had forever. So the fact that it's still working quite nicely is a good thing. So I hope that video was useful, guys. I hope it's given you an idea of the different supplies that I use regularly in my urban sketching that also don't cost too much money. And I'll look forward to seeing you in the next video.